Perek Chaf Gimel, Mishnah Dalet. Says the Mishnah, Machshichin al ha-tchum. One is allowed to walk until the edge of the tchum, the 2,000 limit, which is beyond the last house in the city, which is the limit to how far a person can walk on Shabbos. Machshichin al ha-tchum, you're allowed to go to that point and to wait for it to get dark. Lefakeach al iskei kalo, to attend, to deal with any matters relating to a bride, a kala who is going to get married. Or lahavi loyorim v'tachrichin. Sorry, va'aliskei hameis, or to attend to the matters of a mace, of a corpse, a dead person. Lahavi loyorim v'tachrichin, to bring his coffin or his tachrichin, or indeed to make them on Motzei Shabbos. You're allowed to do that. Now this, as we mentioned in explaining the previous Mishnah, is the viewpoint of Abba Shaul, because Abba Shaul said previously, Kol shani zakai b'amiraso rishani lahachshich lov. Anything which I'm allowed to say, I'm allowed to be machshich for. The Rabbanan argued with him. The Rabbanan said that you're only allowed to be machshich, to go to the edge of the tchum and wait nightfall, wait for Motzei Shabbos, for something which is not actually also to do on Shabbos. But if it's also to do on Shabbos, then I cannot be machshich, I cannot wait until nightfall. And the Rabbanan, the Tanna Kama, does not differentiate whether or not that's a mitzvah activity or not. Abba Shaul, however, is of the opinion that so long as the activity is for a mitzvah purpose, that even though it's also to do on Shabbos, but if it involves a mitzvah purpose, therefore it is mutter to be mashich on the tchum. And therefore this Mishnah which says that you're going lefakech al iskei kalo al iskei ameis, therefore it is in fact mutter to be machshich, to go and wait for nightfall for this purpose. Okay, continues the Mishnah. Nochri shehevi chalilin b'Shabbos. A Gentile who brings chalilin, which are flutes. Now what are flutes? What are they used for? The Bartanura explains, chalilin klei nigun. These are instruments. Chalulin flutes shekoilon ma'ire habechi. That they're playing sad music arouses people to cry at a levaya, which is the point of a levaya, the point of a maspid. When a person gives a hesped, he should try, says the Gemara, to invoke tears, to try and bring about the people to come to tears, to cry for the person who has passed away. So in the times of Chazal, they would play flutes to play sad music to encourage exactly that. So if a Nochri, a Gentile, brought Chalilim flutes b'Shabbos, lo yisped bohen Yisrael, it's a difficult phrase to translate, but the way that it's normally understood means that it should not be, these flutes should not be used in a hesped for Yisrael, i.e. to bewail a Jewish person. The ArtScroll brings that other girses are lo yisoped bohen, that a Jew may not be bewailed with them. But either way, they should not be used for this Jewish levaya. Elim Kain, says the Mishnah, unless bo mimochim korov, which means, is machlokes in the Gemara, but it means they were inside the tchum, but when they came from within the tchum. Now, the opinion of Rashi on this is that if they were expressly bought for this levaya, for this funeral, then Chazal imposed the knas that they cannot be used olamis forever. But the majority of Mefarshim explain that the ban would only last a time period called b'chdei sheyasu, and that is the time that it would take. You have to wait on Motzei Shabbos. So, for example, if it took an hour to come from beyond the tchum to within the tchum of Shabbos, so then on Motzei Shabbos you should not use it immediately, but rather you should wait b'chdei sheyasu, the time it takes, i.e. that hour, to wait 1 hour until Motzei Shabbos and to use it then. After that time, so therefore the Chazal didn't feel it necessary that you're not getting benefiting from the Chilul Shabbos that took place. That's how most Mefarshim explain it. And we're going to come back to that shortly because there seems to be a contradiction with the next part of the Mishnah. Osulo Orim, if a Gentile made an Orim, and that means he made it stam for his own purposes, either for another Gentile funeral or to sell, he made a coffin to sell on to someone else, or they dug a kever, then yikover b'Yisrael, because a Jew can be buried there, because this Chilul Shabbos, the making of the Aron or the digging of the grave, was not done specifically for this Jew, it was done generally, and therefore you cover by Yisrael, a Jew could be buried there. However, the imbish for Yisrael, if the making of the Oren or the digging of this kever was done specifically for this Jew, then lo yikaver by Lomis. Then this Jew is never allowed to be buried there. Waiting b'chtei sheyaseh, if it took 2 hours to dig, or it took 2 hours to make the Oren, it will not help to wait 2 hours until Motzei Shabbos, because here Chazal made a knas lo yikaver by Lomis. Now, what about another Jew? If it was made specifically for Reuven, could it be used for Shimon? So the Mechaber in Shin Chof Hei says it can be. The Mechaber says in Shin Chof Hei, in Sif Yudalad, also in the Yehudi b'Shabbos Oren Okever la'atzmo, if he makes it stamp for his own benefit, then Mutzah Yisrael yikaver, then a Jew can be buried there, like we said. V'im also b'shvil Yisrael lo yikaver by Elomis. But then he carries on and says, Aval Yisrael achem mutzah. But for another Jew, it would in fact be mutzah. That is the halach in Shin Chof Hei. Now the difficulty is this. Tosfos notes, there seems to be a contradiction. Because when it comes to the chalulin, the flutes that are brought for the Jewish burial, we say according to most Mefarshim, not according to Rashi, but according to most Mefarshim, you only have to wait b'chtei sheyaseh, the time it takes for those flutes to come on Shabbos, you have to wait that amount of time Motzei Shabbos. However, when it comes to burial, when the Gentile made the Aron or started digging, then lo yikaver by Olamis. If it was for this Jew, that Jew can never use it. For a different Jew, we said he can, but for this Jew, he can never use it. So why is it with the chalulim, with the flutes, you only have to wait b'chtei sheyaseh, and then they can be used for the benefit of the Jew for whom it was brought, but not when it comes to the kever? That is the kasher of Tosfos. And Mefarshim give different answers, but just 2 answers to share with you. Again, this is from the notes in the Art Scroll Mishnayos. The Ran makes the following chiluk. He says that the Mishnah, which refers to the digging of a grave, is talking about a grave being done b'fahesi in a very open place. And therefore the melacha that was done to achieve that was a blatant chilul Shabbos, was a flagrant desecration of Shabbos, he puts it. And therefore Chazal banned it permanently. Masha'en came. Bringing the flutes on Shabbos is much less conspicuous than digging a grave b'rabin. The guy just brings something, he's holding a bag. There's much less of a blatant chilul Shabbos, and therefore they said b'chtei sheyaseh, you wait until the time elapses, so you're not getting real benefit from what he did, but say that then you can use it. That's how the Ran explains it. Now, the Magen Avram, quoting the Rambam, therefore says that this chiluk would be true for any melacha done, i.e., if the melacha was done for the benefit of the Jew in a very flagrant, blatant way, involving massive sort of open fahesya chilul Shabbos, so then it would be also forever. However, the Taz quoted by the Mishnah Berurah gives a slightly different reason, and the Taz says, Medivrei hataz b'shem haran mashma, the dafka hocha hechmir chachomim le'asar lomis. Specifically here with burial, Chazal asked it forever. Mishum shegnai liYisrael sheikava bekever mefursum shenischala b'Shabbos b'shviloi. It's a disgrace for a Jew to be buried in a grave through which was dug through chilul Shabbos, or in an oren which was created involving chilul Shabbos. In other words, according to the chiluk of the Ran, the Magen Avram says that it doesn't make a difference whether it's grave digging or indeed any other melacha. If the melacha done was very flagrant, was very blatant and open, then it's always going to be osir la'ilam, forever. But if it was discreet, it was less conspicuous, then it would be mutter. Fine. But according to the Taz, then the nafkamina is dafka kever, because it's a gnai, it's a disgrace for a person to be buried in a kever which was done through chilul Shabbos. But if it's any other act, any other melacha, there's no problem. And therefore concludes, so what's the nafkamina? The nafkamina is another melacha formed, but for hesya. According to the Ran, it would be asa. According to the Taz, it would be mutter, because it's specifically kever, which they're going to prohibit, la'ilam. And the Mishnah Berurah concludes, Valkein ein lahachma beis hatzorech, since I found other Rishonim, then who support this view of the Ram, which is quoted by the Taz. Therefore, if needed, one does not have to be machmir, would not have to sort of forbid it la'olam. One could wait in a non-kvura situation. That is the end of Mishnah Dalet.